Hi everybody. Hi Cooksta. Hi Navi. Hi Totliso. How's everybody doing today? How are you guys? How's your Sunday? So yesterday I had a photo shoot because I needed to take new press images. So it was a very, very long day of photoing and all sorts of things, and I hate taking photos actually. But it was actually quite a good day, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the photos turn out. I think I'll probably be able to start sharing some of those with you guys later this week. Hey, everybody. Cooksta emotional. Yeah, I've also had an emotional few days, I must say. Yeah, interesting times. But I'm very happy that we'll be able to purchase the alcohols again because hey man, life can be tricky sometimes, you know. Hey everyone, hey Mamu, bongiwe. Yo, uphosa unzima, like, and the smiling. I really hate taking photos. I always feel so awkward if I'm not like taking a selfie and controlling it myself. I really have a difficult time. Hi beauty. Hi Zilungile. I have a request to join the live. Hi Mhlomi. Is it to Hi Amo. Hey Odi. Hey Janta, welcome. I'm so glad you are able to finally join us live today. Yeah, no, yeah, I just don't like being in front of the camera. I think it's just it's a personality thing. I just like being in control, and I can't control what happens during. So yeah, but other than that, I am good. We didn't have last week's session. I really just needed a timeout. I was absolutely exhausted, and I just couldn't work up the energy to have the session last week. So thank you so much to all of you for understanding and for being back here this week as we kick off part 3 of chapter 6, everybody's most challenging chapter in the book. So if you are new to these chapter by chapter sessions, welcome to the family. We do this every Sunday at 6 p.m. We go through my book, We Are the Ones We Need, The War on Black Professionals in Corporate South Africa. I read excerpts from the book and we discuss some of the themes that come through in the book and also just some of the general challenges that we all face within the workplace. So this session is really for all of us to have the conversations, to ask the questions, to raise the challenges that we have or the ideas that we have about how we can start making changes, small changes in the areas that we're in, or how we can start influencing big changes. So please do keep the comments and the questions coming through because it's a conversation amongst all of us. And I'm going to be reading today from page 67. So in the last session that we had, I read an excerpt from the book that spoke to a meeting that I had with my line manager. I almost said her real name, Amanda. And she basically just gave me a document that was a performance document stating all of the things that I was doing wrong and letting me know that everybody, all my stakeholders aren't happy with what I do. I don't add any value and all sorts of other crazy things that she had cooked up. So we'll be picking it up from there. So this is towards now the end of the meeting. And this is now Amanda speaking. So I've tried to be as clear and concise as I can. And I know it's hard and it's blunt, and I'm sorry about that. That's the only way that I felt like I could actually get the gravity of the situation across to you. Actually, it's quite bad. It is actually quite bad. The perception of you is no value, and that is the honest, and I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm really just telling you what the feedback is. What does she do? That's the biggest question I get from people. What does Sihle do? She sits in meetings and she doesn't say anything. And what does she do? So I need you to look at these things and be brutally honest with yourself. You need to, over the next month, you need to focus on shifting these things. You need to focus on making these changes and behaving and taking the ownership, so that by the end of October, we actually see a big shift in your energy levels and your focus and your ownership. Because if it's not going to be there, then Sandra is going to make me put you on a performance improvement program. She wanted me to do it already with this, and I said, no, I want to give you another month to take this on board and make the changes. A month is enough for you to make a shift. And if after a month nothing has changed and you still come across as being totally disengaged, then I'm going to have to put you on a performance improvement program. I asked her to send me the performance document electronically, and we set up a follow-up meeting for the following week. I walked out of that meeting feeling like 50 billion trucks of bricks had just offloaded on top of me. This woman was at war with me, and I underestimated how far she would go. When I got home, I cried. I felt like I was dreaming. I couldn't understand how someone could do literally everything and anything to destroy someone else's career. I had no idea what to do. So I just collapsed into my mother's arms and cried. Over the next few days, I added my responses to Amanda's document in preparation for our follow-up meeting. I went line by line, meticulously combing through all feedback, formulating responses, and lining up my supporting documents. I accepted that now I was in the middle of a full-on war, and I had to somehow find that warrior spirit within me. On the morning of Friday, 3rd October, I had still not had my follow-up meeting with Amanda. I walked into the office and was summoned to a meeting by Amanda, who had invited Carol, the senior manager for digital marketing. I walked into the meeting unprepared, knowing that once again I was in for an ambush. I sat in that meeting and listened to Carol regurgitating Amanda's script. Interestingly, I saw that Carol had a printout of the performance document Amanda had given to me earlier in the week. Incredible. Not smart. Definitely arrogant. Still incredible. As Carol spoke about how disengaged I was and how her team did not receive adequate support from me, I sat quietly. I still couldn't actually believe that what was happening was a real thing. I genuinely wanted to look for Ashton Kutcher under the table. It's true. And then Carol says, even when we had the Afrikaans musician issue, you left the office when the issue hadn't been fully resolved and we had no PR support. And I replied, that's not true. We had fully dealt with the matter. I had specifically advised on how social media should manage the issue, and before I left around 4 p.m., I specifically sent an email to everyone directed at you and said, I'm leaving, but if you need anything, I'm on my cell. And I went to attend my MBA lectures, and there was no further issue. And Carol said, yes, but still, you should have been there. Even when we had the downtime, you weren't there. And I responded, I've had this conversation with Amanda. I complained that complained about Elliot closing me out and I couldn't get involved. Amanda replied, no, that's not an excuse. Bullshit. You have to muscle your way in. Team, call a time out. Carol's face went pale. I stared at Amanda as she hurled more disrespect to me, and I got up and walked out of the room. I went straight to my computer, fired off an email to HR's Indira, CCing Amanda. In the email, I detailed what transpired in the meeting and demanded an apology and withdrawal from Amanda. I pressed send and went to my weekly group media relations meeting. I got to the meeting room on the ground floor and was chatting casually with other colleagues while waiting for the meeting to begin. As I turned towards the door, I see Amanda standing there. Smile in full effect, and she asked to speak to me quickly. She began rambling off some attempt at an apology. I just heard words tumbling out of her mouth frantically, her eyes wide with sirens of panic. And she said, I apologize if that's how you saw it, and I'll be much more careful that I don't use words like that around you, and that I don't speak so directly with you. I thought you and I were on the same page. We are trying to shift you. We are trying to ignite you to say, take it, girl, run with it. Don't take the bullshit. Take your space. Muscle in. She told me that I was misinterpreting her by thinking that she was being aggressive towards me when she wasn't. She was trying to motivate me. She actually said she was worried that I was super sensitive about her and interpreting everything she said in a negative way. And then she said, I will tone it back and try and be much more rigid so that you don't take offense. I will definitely be mindful in future that I mustn't get excited and try and excite you. Abusive people are incredibly skilled at using language and selecting words that are intended to make you feel like you're overreacting or just that you are the problem. The fact that my very valid complaint was described as me being super sensitive and requiring a more rigid approach from her. Stop for a moment and take that in. Think about the varying forms of abuse that exist and how this reverse psychology is intended by abusers to shame their victims into silence. HR never responded to me, and I no longer saw the point of escalating any issues to them because they did not do a damn thing to resolve anything. Hey, guys, motivation. Okay, I have a request to join me live. Let's see if this works.
Look at it.
Hello?
Betty Ghana must go back.
Hello?
Wow, volume.
Okay. Oaks. Let me see your comments. Okay, where are we? The fuck indeed. The fuck indeed. I think I actually even ran out of swear words when I was at that place, when I was going through this experience. Because, you know, you have like things like, oh my gosh, the fuckery of it all. And, you know, oh, this is such BS and whatever the case may be. But, you know, at some point you get to a level where you just like, the words that exist do not actually capture any of what's happening here. We need new words. We need to invent new cuss words because, wow, I was going through the most. So I'm going to go and get into a part of my feedback meeting with Amanda. Get started on that because that's where we also get into some of the real juice around being able to challenge, professionally challenge the feedback that you get with regards to your performance within the workplace. And this is also speaks to the importance of keeping track and you know, having evidence of everything that you do and everything that you produce and the results and the different engagements that you have with your stakeholders. Only HR and beauty HR guys, HR. Ayo, I don't even have the words. Hi, Miklali. Welcome. HR showed me flames. My follow-up performance meeting with Amanda took place on the morning of Monday, 5th October. And I said to Amanda, you mentioned that Sandra wanted me to go on the performance management program immediately. Which of these issues were her major concerns? And when I said these issues, I was referring to that document that she had prepared for me. All of them, apparently. Sandra had been in a meeting with me recently, and after the meeting, she sent Amanda a WhatsApp notifying her that I had not said anything in that meeting, and her view was that I was just not owning my space. And this had become the most common phrase I heard during this period. So I said, Sandra's meeting last week was about Ask Africa. Ask Africa was like this, I don't know if it still happens, but it's like a survey that you know, rates different banks for different services, right? And the conversation was how to position the results from Ask Africa. But we don't know what the results are, or what the metrics are. So it's hard for me to give insight in terms of how we address something if I don't know what the background is. And that's why I didn't say anything in that meeting. I wasn't involved in it last year, so it's good for me to hear how it was handled last year. And then once we got feedback from Jonathan, I can go back and contribute and say, this is how I think we should address it. Without background information of how it works, or what the mechanics are, or how we are rated, I can't give constructive feedback towards a situation like that. Amanda says, why didn't you ask? And so I said, Jonathan didn't have the information. He was going to go back to Ask Africa guys last week and come back to give us feedback this week. Amanda then says, I'll get you other examples. So then I asked her, so this is then a performance review document? And she says, it's not. It's feedback on what's going on with your performance. This is why I called it ceaseless feedback. Feedback on your performance to date, where you're at, where you need to be. So I said, it's not a formal review document. And she said, no, it's not. So I said, but the feedback has informed the decision to potentially put me on a performance review program. And then she says, well, I suppose it would be, but the feedback is, in general, is Sihle needs to go on a performance review program. I said, let me see if I can give Sihle clear feedback and see if she can't shift her performance in a month. If she can't do it in a month, then we can put her on that program. So this is just to try and help you. I asked her why Carol had come to our meeting the week before with a copy of this informal performance document. Because my understanding is performance management discussions and feedback are confidential. And she said, they are not confidential. I mean, this is not a confidential document by any means. This is a document about the complaints and feedback that I've been getting about your performance. It is by no means confidential. Everybody has been telling me this. She said she had told Carol to look at the document and see where her issues with me fit in and just add them. And if they didn't fit in, she would simply create new categories for them. And then she said, I can't be having this confidential document without having Carol knowing about it. That's not possible. They have to give me input. They have to agree that what I am saying here is correct. Okay? Language. They have to agree that what I'm saying here is correct. I asked her if she believed Carol's feedback was balanced, and she said yes. We went back and forth on every issue. She defended all the negative feedback, even when she didn't have a clue what context had given rise to certain situations. I knew that there was nothing I could ever say that would make her acknowledge anything positive about me. I knew that she had no good intentions towards me. This exercise of debating these issues with her and presenting my own facts was in the short term futile. But I had to just keep going because it was important to record everything. All the discussions, all of the issues of contention, everything. The thing about being the victim of a corporate politics ambush is that you will never, ever be ready for what is coming your way. I sat in this meeting knowing exactly what this woman was doing, knowing she was lying, but the words just wouldn't come out of my mouth. The fight. Instead, I was so mad at myself for coming into this environment with such naivety, thinking I'd never be that cruel, so why would anyone else do that? I'd heard about corporate politics. I'd heard about the instances of constructive dismissal, but you never truly grasp it until you're the target and the poisonous darts are coming hard and fast. Listening to Amanda referring to my behavior and how me doing my job was coincidental was astounding. My mind was screaming for me to say so much more, but the words just weren't there. I felt like I was watching the scene from the other side of a soundproof booth, banging on the glass, but the me that was inside that booth couldn't hear a thing. One of the things that always shocked me about Amanda was her nerve. That woman had all the damn audacity, and it was drenched in arrogance, aggression, and privilege, knowing she had and would continue to get away with it. And so I asked her, why is it that the assumption is that if I'm on my computer in a meeting, I'm doing something else? What is that based on? And she says, maybe it's your general attitude. So I said, what is my attitude? Listen, when you're Black and they can't actually pin anything on you, they blame your attitude. This is done to disempower you so that you don't dare to express your unhappiness or openly disagree with anything, because then, you see, we've always said she has an attitude. She's not suitable for this job. She can't handle this responsibility. She's not able to engage positively with others. Always pay attention to the language. Amanda says that you don't look like you're involved. I'm not saying it because I'm trying to be nasty or horrible. Also note how many times she has said, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be nasty. I'm not trying to be horrible. I'm saying it with all sincerity. Come into the meeting and say, guys, just for you to know, I'm going to be taking notes on my laptop. If it bothers anyone, please let me know. Don't sit like this, okay? And then she hides behind her hands to demonstrate I hide behind the laptop, which in reality would be quite low on the desk, and would never cover my face. So basically she said I needed to walk into a meeting and say, hi guys, I'm going to be in my laptop, okay? If it offends you, please just let me know. And that's me the whole meeting. Guys, think about it. When you're sitting at a desk, laptop, it's here. Right? Anyway, and she carries on to say, I promise you, Sihle, this is not an Amanda example. I promise you, I have no issue with you. I have no issue with how you are and what you do. This is feedback from the whole team. This is not a sample of one. And you need to get that out of your head, that you think that I have a vendetta against you. It has nothing to do with that. This is feedback from the entire retail marketing team. At this point, I had been in this team for a year, never experiencing any performance issues or complaints until August, after Amanda's temper led to a breakdown in our relationship. I just hadn't realized before just how far she would go. And then Amanda says, you must just tell people when they think you are not interested that it's just your personality type. Huh? Hey! Hey! Guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not laughing because this is funny. I'm laughing out of sheer disbelief at the arsenal of gut punches that this woman was throwing. And she says, where have you led a conversation? Give me an example of where you have led a conversation. Imagine living like this, having to recount every step, every word you've uttered. Your word count versus that of others in meetings. This is what my days had come to, being forced to speak for the sake of speaking, because that is the culture here. You don't have to add value, just say something. Then you're okay. If you reserve your comments for times when you actually will add value, you're not performing. I literally had to detail specific incidents where I had led a conversation. I had to tell her who was in the meeting, what the meeting was about, and what my contribution was. And she would ask if the PR agency lead was the one running the meeting, because anything was better than hearing about me actually doing my job. And then she says, after me giving this feedback, how come nobody sees that? Jesus, take the whole wheel, please. When I challenged the issue of being accused of not engaging with marketing managers enough on a daily basis, I questioned the practicality, given the fact that I was a team of one. How would it have worked for me to seek out and have conversations with marketing managers every single day about what it is that they are doing? Because I knew for a fact that their plans didn't change on a daily basis. And surely it's a two-way relationship in terms of how we interact with each other, right? So why were they never instructed or expected to find me and give me relevant updates? Amanda says, they engage so little with you that they don't actually think to come and tell you when things change because they have not built up any sort of relationship with you. I can promise you that my team in particular, I'm also part of her team, by the way. I can promise you that my team in particular will never remember to tell you anything tell you if anything has changed in their segment because they never engage with you. These are people in my direct team. Okay? Sure. They hardly see you. We sit in the same area. How are they going to remember to tell you stuff if you're not in their front of mind or whatever? They hardly see me. We sit in the same area every single day. And then she carries on to say, they don't need you because you're not showing your value to them. Let's not forget, everybody can do PR. Never mind that this is what I studied and invested my career in, excelling at it. Let's not consider the fact that my work required constant learning, evolution, and quick thinking because PR happens every single second of every day. While we're at it, let's not forget that I was in every PR meeting with marketing managers and what they presented to business was discussed in the meetings we had. Also, let's not miss the fact that Amanda, my line manager, told me that her team would never remember to update me on changes in their portfolios. Marketing managers had no obligation to ensure that they engage with me. Marketing managers had support resources, but I, who had no support resources internally, no support resources above me, was being nailed for not taking time to walk up to marketing managers every day and make conversation so that they would remember to talk to me when they needed PR. Right. We've got to acknowledge and call out the psychological abuse and manipulation that takes place in the workplace. I lost count of the amount of times I've replayed situations, conversations, and interactions, wondering if Amanda was actually right. Wondering if maybe I was actually the problem. I hit rewind and fast forward over and over again, desperately hoping to understand why I was being put through the hell that I was. I figured if I could find truth in what she was saying, it would make this a little more palatable than the reality of being treated so horribly because I refused to be abused by her. I don't think the term existed at the time, but Amanda was a masterful gaslighter. She made me doubt myself and my capabilities. I felt like I was losing my mind. She would make comments that would make me wonder if we were in the same meeting, or if I no longer understood the English language, or if my brain just spazzed out. I had to fight so hard to hold on to my sanity and to see what was happening for exactly what it was, the beginning of constructive dismissal. I managed PR and media relations for personal and business banking in South Africa. I was a team of one, servicing 15 business units. I had put in requests for one additional resource to assist me with the workload, and my requests were turned down each time. There were roughly 10 marketing managers, amongst whom 15 business units were split up, and each had at least one support resource, and some had more than one. But I was expected to go around every day to each marketing manager to ask them what was happening in their space so that they would remember to include me. Oh, Jesus. She claimed marketing managers didn't invite me to key meetings because I didn't do enough to remind them that I existed. Please help me understand. How do you remind people that you work with every day that you exist? Which was strange because I was in every single meeting except for the ones I declined due to scheduling clashes. In those instances, I would send someone from the agency to represent PR. Marketing managers did not have to extend themselves to me. That was clear. They did not need to make any effort towards me. I got that loud and clear. But it didn't make my situation any better. I was stretched beyond comprehension. My capacity needed capacity. I was running every day, meetings, reviewing content, brainstorming, monitoring coverage, handling sensitive media queries, looking for new opportunities based on themes in the country and in the media. My brain could never switch off. I was exhausted, but letting this woman destroy my career was never an option, so I kept going. Hey, Pam. Hey, former colleague. Then Amanda says, I can't force marketing managers to invite you to all their meetings. You can't go to all their meetings. You have to pick the right meetings. You have to take ownership. You have to be in the right place at the right time. That is your job to do. You are a grade 12. You are senior enough to be able to have the savvy to figure out where you need to be and where you don't need to be. And the most interesting thing about that statement is that doing exactly that is what landed us in this situation, taking executive decisions based on the level of seniority I had. And it is exactly that savvy that is getting me crucified right now. But ke, askolab. She complained that I rely on the PR agency too much. I reminded her that I raised with her the issue around us starting to build our internal capability or intellectual property within retail so that we rely less on the agency. Because I had no support resources, I didn't have a great deal of time to put towards developing and owning our own intellectual property internally. The PR agency was responsible for quite a huge chunk of strategy development because not only did they have the resources for it, but they were also contracted to do it. When I first started reporting to Amanda, I voiced my concern around the culture within the marketing department of having agencies develop annual strategies. I told her it was problematic because it meant that the bank did not own any intellectual property from a marketing and PR point of view. And it basically made, in my view, senior marketing manager roles redundant. This point was part of my motivation for a support resource for PR, so that I could pour more of my time into strategy and take that component away from agency. I couldn't understand how or why agencies were tasked with putting together strategies when there were fully resourced teams internally. I couldn't get my head around why an organization as big as this bank didn't prioritize the development and protection of intellectual property. In my mind, agencies should have been receiving comprehensive strategies, which they then develop responses for in the form of tactical plans. My feedback was ignored. See what she has to say. Ollie's asking, oh, no. Manzi is saying, I wonder if Amanda read this book and if she has any remorse. She probably read it out of curiosity and probably fear about whether or not I actually mention her name. One day I might. But I doubt that she cares. Honestly, it's just who she is. She embraces being an asshole to, us, Hey, Reason. She has definitely done it before and is probably doing it again wherever she is. Akona says, were you ever given specific goals? So when I started this role, I had no goals, no job description, no nothing. I literally developed it myself. I crafted it myself based on what I knew needed to happen within that department. And then that then informed my KPIs. And interestingly, I don't know if I mentioned it in the book at a later stage, but interestingly, there was a time when we had to do our goals and KPIs for the following financial year. And obviously, my boss, being Amanda, would get them from her boss, Sandra, and then Amanda would then do it for her layer, her department, and herself, and then pass it down to us for us to then plug in. You know how the process goes. And Amanda sent me her her goals, and I sent it back, and I said, but these are not strategic goals, so I don't understand what is your job for this next year, so that I know what I need to do to support you. I never got a response. She had no idea what strategic goals were, or how to put them together, or how to articulate them in a meaningful way. This is the person that was trying to get me fired. Cookster says, my previous manager kept a black book. Goba banjal. And says, she despised you because you're good at what you do, yeah? And then have the audacity to speak up, challenge her. Yeah, she hated me for it. Hey, Sihle, hey, Preska. Clara says, as if everyone announces what they do on their screens. I mean, I literally walked into this culture. I used to be the girl that would go into a meeting with just a notebook. And then I was like, oh, everybody comes with their laptops, because I always used to just not take a laptop because the sound the whole time. So I was like, well, if that's what everybody's doing, you know what? I'm just going to use my laptop too. And then I'm the one who's problematic for using a laptop. I'm disinterested. And actually, most of the time, I wouldn't even use my laptop. I would bring in my iPad because it's quiet, and I would just type up my notes that way, which is even lower than a laptop. So how am I covering my face in meetings with a freaking iPad? In the great words of phenomenal poets of our times, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, I really just feel like at that time I felt there's some holes in this house, like for real. When it says I'm not trying to be nasty, that's when they mean it. Yep. When they preempt that, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but yeah, we know the language. And that's why I focus a lot on language in this book. I know I'm very, very detailed about emails and about transcribing the conversations that I had recorded, but it's very intentional for me to do that because I want us to really be in so focused and so proactive about listening to what they say, how they say it, in what context they say it, who they use certain words with, and what impression they are trying to create, and what perception they're trying to create by using that particular language. Once you start picking up those trends, you will see exactly what's going on. Kokster, even that icon, you know it. I think these individuals need to be called out publicly. Well, yeah. Are you going to contribute to my GoFundMe when I must defend myself? Then defamation case. I mean, I'd be successful in defending myself, but who's gonna pay for my legal fees, y'all? Hey, huh? Manzofaka imali GoFundMe. I'll say the names first. All of, and these are very expensive names. Which says the racism, cause yeah, you know it. You know it. We are the slaves. We must serve them all the time. Amanda's a spokesperson for everyone. Yep, deny it. Absolutely. Except me. Yep. Talk about policing. Absolutely. Her team was my favorite thing. Absolute favorite thing. Hey, D. Corporate is the biggest con. Hey, corporate is a lie. The corporate's marketing campaign has been the most brilliant campaign that has ever existed in all of history because we aspire to the shit. We aspire to working in corporate, climbing that corporate ladder, wearing those power suits, being in those meetings, working late, or being like, oh, leaving the office at 8, oh, because my work is so important. How's that working out for you? They do make you doubt yourself, Tantla. Daniel says the protocol is more important than the actual treatment of people, more especially Black women. Absolutely. They do want us to think we're not good enough completely. Hey, Zimster. Hey, everybody who's just joined. Labeling you incompetent and not engaged. The worst is when you stand up for yourself. Absolutely. Wonga says, so much corporate language being shared on this book. I must get my hands on it. Get your hands on the book. For real. If you don't know where to get a copy of the book, if you go into my website, sihlepolani.com, there is a tab for books. Click on that tab, and at the bottom of the page, there's some links to retailers and distributors who have stock, and they can have that delivered to you. So it's all nice and done, easy for you. You don't have to go very far. Pam has a T on them. Pam knows. Pam knows. All them people. I'm pretty sure she has her own experiences. Yeah, that ownership decision when it suits them. Yeah, exactly. When you take a decision because you're taking ownership of your role, how dare you? Because now they feel out of place because there's nothing for them to do. And then when you take a step back, you must take ownership. Like, and that's the thing. Like, one of the biggest issues that I have is that the goalposts are always moved for us. It's always, if you do this, then this is what will happen, or this is what you'll get, or this is what the reward will be. And then you do that, and it's like, no, what we meant was you should have done it like this, and then to do that, then you will get this. And then you go, okay, and then amend. And then they go, No, actually, what we meant was the way that you were supposed to be doing it before, which is what you did before, anyways. What you were before, you know what, 50 years is your career is done. You're getting a badge for long service, and you're retiring. Pam says, "Hey, the time you launched your book, I was going through all these things you went through with a different employer. Oh, I'm so sorry, sis. It sucks." Yeah, they do know nothing most of the time, and that's the problem, right? They take it out on us. Because how dare a black person know more than them? And because you ask the questions, you become victimized. Africa, yeah, absolutely right. They know zero half the time, Vele. Completely. Completely. You know how many times I have and I've actually had this conversation with my mom and said, there have been so many instances where I've had either a meeting that I need to attend with very senior people, very important people. And I always feel so nervous and be like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to be in this room with these people. I am going to have to say something, contribute something, do something, and then I'm gonna learn so much, and then I get into that meeting and I'm ready, to walk out of there feeling like, ah, light bulb, I have the key. And then I get into that meeting and I listen to these people speak and I'm like, oh, what? How did you get here? Hmm? I can't know. Smart lady, it's enough that you've written the book. I think so too. Oh my, do says you scratched the healing wound. I'm sorry. Sometimes you just gotta clean that wound out before it can heal properly. Hey, Doc. Now says, how are we supposed to transform such spaces when the HR, which is supposed to be responsible for this, ends up being the security guard for the corporation rather than the protector or the voice of? Where's Oli, my HR friend? I hope you saw this question. So there's a lot of issues with HR. We've discussed that numerous times. And because there's so many issues around HR and so many various aspects of it that we need to actually dig a lot deeper into, we need to actually focus specifically on HR themes. What we're going to be doing in the next few weeks is I'm going to be introducing a feature once a month where I have focused conversations and articles around HR, which I'm going to be doing with Oli, who's an HR specialist. So we are going to be dealing with very specific HR related issues to ensure that you are equipped to navigate, to manage, to question, to challenge, to, be a lot more proactive about how you interact with all of the various elements around your career and your security of employment that sit within the HR department. So look out for that. That says the worst is being told my personality is very strong. Look, okay, so then, as if Amanda doesn't have a strong ass personality. Waitress says, I hate black women, that's it. This creates so much tension in our lives. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I also used to see how differently they treat black women versus black men. Very, very different scenario. Yes, black men still were lower, but they were above black women. I saw it, there was a greater ease with which they engaged with black men in the team than black women. It was very, very noticeable. And he says, I'm asked to change the format of my report every month. I've also gone through that report. Shit. Hey, like with everything else that I'm doing, you think I have time to be revising and reworking reports every the next month? It's no, actually do it the way you did it last time. There's always something, even when there's nothing. Distraction. That's all it is. Distracting you, taking time away from you that you could be using to be doing something productive. And then it comes back and bites you in the butt that you are spending time doing these things. And then they're going to come back and say, why did you take so long to put together a report? Why did it take so many tries for you to get it right? Obviously, you're not sufficiently equipped for this role, or obviously, you're not qualified enough because you couldn't get the right template. Hey! Mm-mm-mm. Penny says, Sihle, will you ever go back to the corporate world? No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. If I did, it would have to be a very, very special, impactful, mean what they say what they mean kind of company that gives me institutional power to be able to drive the agendas that are meaningful for me within the workplace. Agendas that are going to be impactful, agendas that will make a difference, and agendas that will ensure that marginalized groups are no longer marginalized and that we actually are able to achieve economic emancipation for marginalized groups, but also fairness, equality, equity, sexual harassment, dealing with all of those kinds of issues. If I have the space to do that kind of work in a meaningful way and have the support from board level, from all the key stakeholders, key decision makers, if I have the support from a budget perspective, and if I can directly report into like the CEO, you know what I mean, that kind of like solid support, then yes, I would. Less than that, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in organizations that would want to have me on board as a, you see, we're trying to do the right thing. We've even hired her. Not interested. I don't play that game. Danfa says, or someone starts presenting their reports in your format and they find it groundbreaking. Hey, like, oh, why didn't we think of that? I definitely. What a difficult, hey guys, to be black in corporate. And don't think it's just here. In America, they see their asses too. The African Americans and the people of color, the brown folks, they are seeing their butts over there. Pam says she was labeled as difficult to work with, got an attitude. Oh yeah, unapproachable, unfriendly. I would get asked if I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Yeah. Olisa Sihle makes me sound so important, and I'm a troublemaker. We need troublemakers. That is the energy that this world needs. Guys, we can't come out of COVID and still be quiet. No, this is where we need to be charging those troublemaker batteries, because we need to be agitating the system in a way that we've never done so before. Right? This is our underground right now. We should be scheming, planning, plotting, doing things, putting things together. Well, maybe, just maybe, Black Coon, a lot easier. Shade but no shade. Africa says when they can't find fault in your work, they attack your character and reputation. Your personality. They attack your personality as well. I'm an introvert. So I generally keep to myself, right? I will speak, and especially within the workplace. I'm friendly. I am approachable. I am helpful where I can be. But also, I'm not there to be your friend. I'm there to work. I'm there to work well with you. I will respect you, and I expect the same kind of respect. But I'm not going to be gossiping with you. I'm not going to be cackling with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that they're just not me. You can go ahead and do that. It's just not my personality. I'm just not like that. That's not who I am. That's not how I am. And it's not how I work. Because also, I know that somebody somewhere is going to use something against you. So, you know, but then that'll be used against you too. You're not a team player because you don't sit and cackle with the white folks. And it says, oh my, he told me, someone with your experience, the quality of your work is appalling. I'm numb to his words now. Wow. Wow. Petra says, I find it easier to deal with black marketing managers as they care for their projects and play their part. White marketing managers are intimidated by black women. In case your ideas take off and you get some recognition for it. Absolutely. I definitely had an easier time to work with black marketing managers. Excuse me. Because they get it. And the bank that I worked on, I mean, within the retail department, the target audience that we had was predominantly black. But do you think they listened to black perspectives? Do you think they listened to us? They would actually argue with us. We would say, actually, that is not the right approach and it's quite offensive. This is what needs to be happening. No. This is what agency has told us we need to do, and this is what we believe is the right thing to do, and so that's what's going to happen. And then we put out an ad, and you have the black mamas dancing for a bank account. And then what happens? Social media shitstorm. Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. We didn't mean to be offensive. They do block you intentionally. Africa says there isn't anything as painful as working without support. Absolutely. And also, black people are full of insight. Yep. Please. Okay. We're back. Please apply for the marketing manager role at Teodosic. I don't think it's as far as corporate. DM me, I'll have a look at it. I'm not sure though. Please DM me, Mansi. Dr. Legs. Dr. Lovely, this is Lerato Masmola. She's my GP. She's awesome. She says, thanks for creating a space for black professionals to express their frustrations and unnecessary challenges. Hopefully, it gives someone the courage to change the situation they find themselves in. Thank you so much. I really, really hope so too. And that's why I've created this space. But I'm even happier by the quality of the interactions that we have when we have these sessions. It's always so much fun and so engaging and so interesting as well. Glenda really needed this book as therapy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Manzi. Yeah. Look, everything for me right now, when just the whole concept, and firstly, of employment, I have to be like, how many ways are they going to try to, squeeze my balls? Like, okay, so we really want you for this role. You were successful in the interview stages and you went through the psychometric assessment and we think you're a good fit for the organization. We've got like 1 minute left. So we really want to make you this offer. Okay, great. Okay, but you can't have conversations about discrimination on your social media anymore. You can't comment on issues of racism in the workplace and diversity issues, because we don't want any assumptions to be made around the fact that you're referring to our organization. And it just gets murky waters, because I'm never not going to be speaking about these issues. And so any organization that I join will have to understand that up front. I know this is me. This is the brand. I'm always going to be talking about this. I'm about this life. Okay, quickly before Instagram shuts us down, Akona says, yes, we forgot we can create our own spaces, so let's rethink employment. Absolutely. It's all blacks there, man. Come on. Hey, Mike. Have you not heard stories of people who have challenges at work working for black-owned companies? And I have consulted for organizations that are managed by black leaders. Hey! Too many terms and conditions that apply to other people besides them. Absolutely. Manzi, currents are not the only issue. Yo. Oh, Wangani, no Tendai. We have